Okay, we have a Robert Bosch inline fuel injection pump from a four-cylinder diesel engine out of a 1974 Case 870 farm tractor. I've taken some parts of this pump apart here, and we're going to go through some of the operation of this to show some of the real unique features about this and really what a complex but very functional part of the fuel delivery system here. I've got the shop manual here for this, which has been handy. So it's got all the right specifications and everything here on this. So very useful when actually back to installing this in the tractor. But anyways, we're really looking at the side here that would be outside or exposed on the tractor there. This is, I guess, the main side here where a lot of the connections and throttle attachments are made here on the tractor. So the front of the tractor would be right here with my hand. We removed the timing gear at the front right here, and really there's 4 bolts here that would bolt to the timing cover of the tractor. So we've got this thing here in the vise, and obviously I'm going to go through some of the parts here that have been removed. So really, obviously right here, the main hole you're seeing there with the 3 nuts just screwed back on here. This is where the I guess you call it essentially the fuel lift or delivery pump would be located. It's again driven from a cam, a separate cam lobe in there, not one of the plungers here for the injectors. It's got a nice little roller here and that, and this would, I think, deliver around, just going to look here in that, but I think it's around 30 or 40 pounds of pressure there from the tank through the fuel filters and into the delivery side here on the pump. This will supply each plunger here with fuel with a regulated amount of return that would also be mixed with return fuel from the injectors as well. Here are the 4 delivery valves on the top of each plunger. They are, again, similar to an injector. They will open at a set pressure, similar to the injectors themselves, a little bit lower, obviously. I think these injectors fire around 1600 psi, so these would be slightly less than that. But their key role here is basically to keep the injector lines full of fuel and at pressure to really limit any lag in starting and between each power stroke. So really, you've got fuel held, perfectly primed and in there through the operation of the pump. What else can we say here? Obviously, at the front here, we've taken the gear off. This is an important mark right here for timing, which will line up. Obviously, this will the main gear will only go on in a certain way here, and this line timing mark will line up there essentially to indicate where the pump is relative to top dead center. So a very important mark there when this is all installed back together. What else can we point out here? Obviously, we do have one cover here that was removed, located right here, and just two 10mm bolts going through to hold it in there. Fairly good rubber gasket on here. The rubber that hasn't been exposed is still fairly soft, so it looks like it could be removed. Looks like a fairly decent inspection cover, really, that doesn't really result in any unexpected parts or springs flying out all over the place. So that's very good. And then in a moment here, we'll go through the operation. As you can see, the 4 plungers and what we've got through here. We've got a little plate taken off at the back of the pump right here. Again, another 4 10mm bolts holding this in. This is a nice little cover, and it's actually sealed by a recessed O-ring in here, which seems to be in pretty good shape. I'm sure that could be easily replaced, but the nice thing about this cover is that it can be taken off and reinstalled quickly, and also without risk of a gasket being torn or any failure there. So a very useful inspection cover there that could be utilized. What we've got here then at the back, we've got 2 adjustment screws. This is the low idle adjustment screw. I think the idle is supposed to be set around 700 to 750 RPMs. And this here is a supplementary idle screw. One that probably isn't needed that often, but you would adjust this here slightly if you had an erratic idle in which you brought the RPMs down and you had a little bit of a surge off of idle. So again, I haven't had a situation where we needed to adjust that. On the back side here, I'll just flip around here since it's in the vise here, but you'll see here we've got the this is the shut off. This is the fuel shut off lever, which is operated from a pull knob cable in the cab, spring loaded, and basically when you pull on this here, this completely shuts off the fuel to the plungers, and we'll go through that in a second, just what actually happens when we pull on this here and how it stops the fuel. The other thing at the back here, this pump is lubricated with engine oil, and basically the pump does have a sump in here. There would be engine oil pumped into here at pressure through a kind of unique delivery valve at the back here. There's a banjo fitting, and then this kind of neat little plunger type valve. As you can see here, I'm operating it. That again is actually driven off the same cam as the delivery pump. So just small amounts of metered oil is allowed to pump in there from the oil filter tube there that's connected down there. So it'd be hot filtered oil would end up in here, and it would exit, which is it's hard to see here, but there's actually a hole here in the front of the pump that goes, probably imagine just flows right out the bearing. It's just a conventional ball bearing with no seals in it, so it would allow it to flow right through there and out. So the oil level is kept purposely really about somewhere right around through here, in which each cam lobe is deep in oil, and the governor side, which we're going to open this up here in the next video, you can see that'll be obviously splashing a lot of oil around. On the governor side, there's a lot of critical components in here that need to be lubricated and kept kept nice and coated with oil. So anyways, that's that is a neat little unit there for delivering oil, and that's located just at the back there. You can see that will be threaded in right there. Unfortunately, this is really hard to get to. It is sort of possible to get it out when it's on the tractor, but you probably would have to have several manifolds, including the exhaust and coolant manifolds, off to get in there. So really challenging part there if that would ever be a problem. Very important though that oil is present in here all the time, just based on the nature. Again, you've got all the various cam lobes through here, and the governor system as well here that needs fluid. So really, we also got this large plug here at the top, which is again a 10mm Allen key. And I've just taken this out, and I really don't know the purpose of this. I've looked down. I don't see any, there's no adjustments or any screws or anything that could be controlled by this plug. So I'm assuming, again, just probably another inspection plug there for the top. And it may be used at installation. What you do when you're installing a new pump, it doesn't have any oil in the sump already. It's essentially dry. This may be a very good place to actually add the required level of oil in here prior to startup, so you wouldn't have a dry start of the pump. My guess is there's probably half a liter to 3/4 of a liter of oil that would be present in this pump here at any time, and this would be a handy way to add that oil in there before you start. I've taken off the throttle lever, which is located right here, and I'll just show here where that would go. There'd be a nut that would go attach right onto there, and this is really right from the control in the cab. This is essentially the no load idle or no load high idle speed adjustment right here. So basically full throttle in the cab, and this would be where you would adjust that maximum RPM. Just essentially how much tension you're putting on the governor to control that speed. And Case has taken great efforts here to lock that down and seal that so that this is not altered or tampered. A fairly critical thing that they had there. The other thing, obviously, that was sealed up with a locking key as well on there is this back plate, which I've taken off. And actually, in this tractor here, it was already removed. So, which means that this cover had been off once, likely to adjust. quite a significant adjustment back here. You see here essentially at the bottom here this set screw and 10 millimeter bolt there, not there, sorry. This is what Bosch refers to as the altitude adjustment setting here, which essentially is your maximum fuel delivery. So at full load, when you start to put a load on the engine, the governor is going to be slowly increasing how much fuel the pump delivers by advancing the fuel rack. Eventually it's going to hit a dead stop here in which that fuel rack can't travel any further. Now by adjusting this in slight increments, you can dramatically alter how much fuel is delivered. So it's called the altitude adjustment because basically a diesel engine's designed to smoke just a little bit at full load. Any excess black smoke really doesn't add a lot of power, it's just wasted fuel. So you can calibrate this. If you take the tractor to much higher elevations, you'll actually would want to reduce the amount of maximum fuel you would put to the engine, so you're not really just wasting fuel in black smoke. But long and short, this is kind of what you would refer to as cranking up the pump, basically, by adjusting that. And again, this is another plate there that Case would make sure it has got a locking wire on there, so they would know if it's been tampered. Okay, we'll just do a quick shot here of the internals. Basically, again here, we've got a spring here for each of the plunger system. You've got essentially, I guess, like a lifter, a roller lift here basically at the bottom. Hard to see, but and it's just driven by the rotation. So as you can see here, when I crank this here, one rotation will result in 4 power cycles through the engine, and each plunger here cycles at a quarter revolution. I'm going to point out here the fuel rack at the top there. Its purpose in here is one of the most important of the whole pump. Again, right now the pump would be sitting essentially in an idle position in the tractor. The fuel shutoff is in the on position, so basically it's been pushed in. So right now would be in a position to start. So what it's done here, the fuel rack is basically in full fuel delivery at maximum. So you start cranking the engine, and it would rapidly start. And what would happen here, the governor would start to put pressure on that spring and pull the fuel rail back to a idle position, which would be very, very, very little fuel. And essentially the least amount possible, just to keep the engine running at a desired RPM. And then essentially, as you increase RPM and load on the engine to full load, you would have a position here where the engine is working essentially as hard as it could based on the amount of fuel delivered. You call it essentially wide open, literally. And that would be adjusted there. The maximum travel of that fuel rack in that position would be adjusted by, again, that nut at the back that we talked about. So once again, very, very important, this fuel rack here, which is a precision component here, very, very smooth operation, controls each plunger precisely the same, and highly regulates how much fuel is delivered there through each power stroke. And as the plungers turn here, they continue to travel up and down at the same rate and same speed through any RPM. All it's doing is just turning the plunger and its helical notch there to allow more fuel to be pumped. So it's basically it's altering its effective displacement basically for each stroke. And then essentially in the off position, when you pull on the shutoff, it's just basically allowing that plunger to bypass, and no fuel is being pumped up past the delivery valves on top, and the engine will stop very quickly because there's no fuel being pumped to the injectors. There's no pressure that would allow them to pop open. So that's kind of the overview of the fuel rack, which is really the heart of this injector pump. And then really the very, very, very precise and highly machined surfaces that would be through here to deliver that fuel at high pressure.